Wah wah wah. Wah wah wah. Wah 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 wah. Wah wah wah. Wah wah wah. Doodle Bible School. How slick was that, huh? I just make it up in my head. It just comes in my head and out my mouth. What do you do? There's my wife. She sent me a heart. You can't see it, but it's in the message thing that's off to the side of the screen that you can't see, that I see, that I love. Thank you, Cindy, for the heart. Anyhow, here we are, guys. Doodle Bible School. Time to be silly and a time to put the Bible in our brain and then put it in our heart and then put it in the world so that the people that we love can be attracted to God. It's good stuff. You know what I'm saying? All right, Doodle Bible School. Navigating numbers. My man Moses comes bouncing on the scene. There he is, and he is leading them to the promised land. To, not in. Because remember, Moses messed up at the rock. And instead of talking to it, he hit it, and God said, okay, you're not going in. Now, he is going to climb to the top of the mountain. He is going to get to look over the promised land. That's a really nice thing that God does for him there. But Moses misses his chance because a moment when he lost his temper. I tell you, this is a message I need to hear because I'm this, especially in this hot, humid weather. I don't know what it is about hot and humid, but man, I just get, anyhow, ask my wife. And she even sent me a heart, even though I sometimes am not very nice. I'm sorry, honey. I love you, though. Moses lost his temper. We got to be careful about losing our temper because Moses lost a lot. Didn't get to, after all those years, 40 years of wandering in the wilderness, and he didn't get to go into the promised land. Ooh, man. All right, folks, I think you know how this drill works. First thing out the horizon is do the doodle. So I get my doodle-later, my doodle-a-dee, and I'm ready to draw with ye. Ye. That's an old King James word for you. Yeah. Oh, you already knew that? Okay. Very good. Oh, man, I must be getting old. All right, guys. By way of a review, here's what we have here's what we've covered so far. All right. All the way back here to 21. I guess that's the beginning of the new semester, huh? Anyhow, 21. And we are now going to cover chapter 29. Now, most of you know, because and I wish I had just left my, you know what, I'm going to do that differently. Don't do that, guys. Oh, baloney. All right, here you go. I wish I'd left my thing from last week because we could have just used it. You know what I'm saying? Draw 3 lines here. Does that look like an altar? Maybe not a very good one, but yeah, it does. All right, now you got to have fire coming out of here, okay? And I've got to do this in upside down because I can't remember. A 2 goes this way, doesn't it? Oh, there you go. All right, that's better. I can't remember how a 2 goes. All right, so now make this dark because remember, that's our 2. And that's the part we want to remember. That is the 2, all right? And over here, we're going to draw us a little calendar. Let's see if I can do this. How did Gabriel do that? He kind of like this, and then he kind of like this, wasn't it? Yeah, that's not bad, Sonny. Something like that. All right, you come on down here like this. He also has that part there. Okay, anyhow. And then we're going to do the 9er. Okay, and make it dark because that's what we're going to remember too. That's supposed to, did I do it? It's not too bad. That's supposed to be a calendar, all right? Because what's happening in chapter 29 is we're continuing from chapter 28, look on the screen, but we're continuing to talk about the various offerings that they were supposed to present to God and the schedule, the calendar that they were to use when presenting these offerings. Okay, so offerings part 2. There you go. That's not too bad. I have certainly done worse. Don't you laugh, because I know you know that I have. Anyhow, there you go. Offerings, part 2. All right, moving along. If I were going to ask you a question, I might go ahead and ask you 2 of them. And here they are. Number 1, what is the theme for Numbers chapter 29? Offerings, part 2. Very good. And number 2, can you doodle the picture? Yes, we can. There it is. Woo-hoo! Let's be silly. Big Eye Bob. Or is it Big Eye Bill? I can't remember. I think this one's Bob. But anyhow, he's got a, it's rather long, isn't it? Anyhow, if a king sleeps on a king-size mattress and a queen sleeps on a queen-size mattress, what does a prince sleep on? We just had a king-size mattress given to the ministry yesterday so that we could sell it and make some money to support those who do the Restoration School of Biblical Studies. Anyhow, I'm saying all that to help you have time to figure out the poem. Or not the poem, the joke. All right, king sleeps on a king-size mattress, queen on a queen-size. What does a prince sleep on? Well, clearly a prince would sleep on an air mattress. Go ahead, laugh with me. It's okay to laugh. It really is. Even in Bible study, you're allowed to laugh. There's a lot of stuff in the Bible. Did you know it? There's a lot of stuff in the Bible that's funny. Yeah. Anyhow, and air. The word air here is not air as in what you breathe. It's air as in he is going to be the heir. He's going to grow up to become the king. He's heir of the kingdom. But it's a play on words from Big-Eyed Bob. Moving on. Segment number 2. Let's make a memory. Let us take some stuff and stick it up in our head and make it stay there. You know what I'm saying? We need some memory glue. That's a good idea. Memory glue. I had to develop that. I guess I could become rich if I could come up with some kind of, you take a pill right before you want to remember something. It goes up in your brain. It formulates this little glue stuff that makes that thought stick right in there. I got to work on that. All right, guys. Here is your memory verse. I know what you're saying. Sonny, that's a long verse. I get it, but we're going to break it down, and I think you're going to be okay. So just don't get excited here. Numbers 29 and verse 39. These you shall offer to the Lord at your appointed feasts, in addition to your vow offerings, your free will offerings, for your burnt offerings, and for your grain offerings, and for your drink offerings, and your peace offerings. Now, I know you're saying, oh, dear. But what you got to do is just remember each of those offering ones. What is there? 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 6 of them. Just remember them in order. Okay, we got vow, free will, burnt, grain, drink, and peace. If you can do that, it's basically repeating the same thing over and over again, okay? So remember how little Moses over there, he tells us, says, all you got to do is say each line 5 times. These you shall offer, these you shall offer, these you shall offer, these you shall offer, these you shall offer. Ah! See what I'm saying? There, I got it stuck in your brain. Now, if that don't work, what you can do is you can go ahead and leave blanks. And you'll notice what I did there. I took out the various names of the offerings so that you would remember them in order. So go ahead and get those things in your head first. And then basically all you got to do is remember the first, 4 lines. And then from there on, it's basically saying the same thing with the list of 6. You guys could do this. I know, don't get all, no, it's fine. You got it. I know you do. All right, now, what we're going to do here is ask a question about our memorization time. So you're not only going to have to quote it, but you're going to have to answer this question. Certain offerings were to be made at what appointed times? What appointed times? That's where you get the 6, I think. Let's go back and look. Let's see what the verse actually says. Oh, no. Appointed feasts. I'm sorry. Forget my answer. Feasts is the answer to this. At what appointed times were they to make these offerings? At feasts. When they feasted. I love to feast. I love to eat. Do you like to eat? That's what a feast is, All right, moving on. All right, let's see here. Let's see if it says the same thing it said before. I think it should because I didn't change the slide. Here we go. Certain offerings were to be made at what appointed times? Feasts. Okay. All right, here's Lollipop Lily. We'll call it, except I think it's a guy. But anyhow, what do you call a nervous javelin thrower? I don't know, but if I'm in the audience, I'm nervous too. If he's nervous, you know what I'm saying? You know what a javelin is? It's one of those long spear things that they throw in the Olympics. All right, what do you call a nervous javelin thrower? Well, you call him Shakespeare. Because his spear is shaking. And Shakespeare wrote all that. Isn't that funny? I mean, it's just cracking me up over here. Okay, there you go. Segment number 3, Shakespeare. Ponder a passage. Okay, folks, now it's time to look at that passage in greater detail and say to ourselves, what do we want to remember from this passage? Well, there's a lot of stuff. And I got a really fancy slide for you here today. Here comes my dancing Moses. All right, he's got this clue. Oh, and look, we got arrows. How about that? All right, what I want you to see in this is actually this chapter is divided into 3 basic parts. And again, we're talking about the offerings, right? The first paragraph up there is the Feast of Trumpets. What offerings are you supposed to give during the Feast of Trumpets? The second paragraph, starting in verse 7 here, is about the Day of Atonement. And then the third one down here, and there's a whole lot, most of the chapters about the Feast of Booths. We really like this at our house. They used to go out in the backyard and build tents and stuff. That's what they did. And I said to my family, I said, we could do that. And so we did it a couple years ago. And it was really fun. Had a family come up from Michigan, Memphis. They're really good friends of ours. And we camped out in the backyard. It was a really neat time. All right, first of all, let's deal with this Feast of Trumpets up here. He says, on the first day of the 7th month, you shall have a holy convocation. That's a holy meeting coming together. You shall do no ordinary work or any ordinary work. So what kind of work were they not allowed to do? Ordinary, just the common stuff. You weren't allowed to do just the common kind of work. And he says, it is a day for you to blow the trumpets. I like that holiday too. We may do this one next. And not only do we get to camp out in one of the holidays, we can blow trumpets. It's like it's like those things that at the first of the year, what do you go? Well, New Year's, Except I think they probably sounded better. But anyhow, in the first feast, they get to blow trumpets. And I'm curious, what do you think? Trumpets? Why trumpets? All right, and then the next paragraph, we're going to deal with the Day of Atonement. Atonement is when you do something to make up for something else. You atone for something. And what's going to happen is they're going to make a sacrifice that is to make up for their sins. And really what it does is it puts their sins kind of in storage until Jesus comes, the perfect lamb. But anyhow, that's more material than you need to know. On the 10th day of the 7th month, you shall have a holy convocation, same thing, and afflict yourselves, or fast. I think the NIV says you are to deny yourself. It basically means that you're supposed to do something that's sacrificial. You're supposed to focus on God instead of focus on the things that I want. I focus on the things that God wants. And so in this particular case, it says to fast. It doesn't say from food, but it probably it has to do with that. But you are to fast. You're to do no work. You shall offer a burnt offering to the Lord. And then you skip down to verse 11 and it says, also 1 male goat for a sin offering besides the sin offering of what? Atonement. So this celebration was celebrating atonement. Okay. Then you come down to verse 12 on the 15th. Now we're dealing with the Feast of Booths. That's where they go camp in the backyard. And it says 2nd day, 3rd day, 6th day. You can see all those days. And then on the 8th day. So how many days of instruction did they get? How many days? It's actually evidently as a matter of fact, it says it up here earlier. There's a 7-day celebration, but evidently there are 8 days that they're actually going to get instructions about that. But it's a 7-day celebration. And then the last paragraph says these are basically the offerings that you're supposed to give. All right, here's your questions, guys. Now I want to make sure that you get the last one here. How long did the Feast of Booths last? If you look up that passage, it's going to say 7 days, okay? Even though the passage I just read says that on the 8th day they were supposed to do something, okay? But it's 7 days that the feast lasts. They get instructions about more, but it's 7 days that the feast is supposed to last. All right, there are your questions right there upon the screen. Whoop, whoop, there they are. And so if you can answer those, guess what? You're going to be prepitated for the final test. Prepitated. That's a big word. Look it up. Prepitated. Hey, Google, what does prepitated mean? That's what you need to do. All right, here's a spinny-faced guy. If I remember right, this is a pretty good joke. What is the difference between a hippo and a zippo? Just saying it makes me funny. Or makes me feel funny. Makes me laugh. That's what it is. I don't know if it makes me funny or not. Did you laugh? All right, then it makes me funny. What is the difference between a hippo and a zippo? Well, I'm going to tell you. One's really heavy, that's the hippo, and the other's a little lighter. Little lighters like that. There's a brand called Zippo lighters. So a hippo, he's pretty heavy. The other one's a little lighter. Get it? Lighter as in doesn't weigh as much. Lighter as in it's a small lighter that you make so you can light a campfire or something like that. Oh, Sonny, sometimes I know. All right, folks. We already did that one. Let's go further. There it is. There it is right there. Apply the why. Doing, doing, doing. All right, let's go back to that passage. There's one part that I really wanted us to emphasize so that we can kind of take it home with us, if you will. Let it really stick in our brain. On the first day of the 7th month, you shall have a holy convocation. You shall not do any ordinary work. It is a day for you to blow the trumpets. I underlined the wrong thing. Forget that. It's supposed to be this. I don't know why I've got that underlined. I mean, that's a neat. I could have asked you this question. Why trumpets? That would be and you can go ahead and answer that one if you want, Mom and Dad. If you want them to answer that too, it's okay. But the real question I wanted you to answer is down here in verse 7, where it talks about fasting. Have you ever fasted? Maybe the doctor said, okay, you're going to have this procedure, but you've got to fast for 12 hours before you have it. So that means you don't eat or drink anything, right? Have you ever fasted for God? Cindy and I do this every once in a while, where we give up something in our diet, generally speaking, and we're not going to do that with ice cream or something like that. That's a particularly hard one for Cindy. But anyhow, we're going to give up something, and that way we can focus on God. And every time we get hungry and we want to go to the freezer and get some ice cream, we say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give that as a gift to God, and I'm going to focus for a moment on God and who God is. Okay? When and why did you ever fast before? That, my friends, that is the question excuse me, I'm burping twice there. That's the question you're supposed to answer. Actually, there's 3 of them here, isn't it? Have you ever fasted? Have you ever fasted for God? And when and why did you fast? There's 3 questions. But you just need to write a short answer. I don't need you to write me a dictionary or nothing. Just you know what I'm saying? Okay. Here's Big Tooth Bob. There's Bill. Big Tooth Terry. I don't know who this guy is. Why did the man quit his job at the muffler shop? He's working, mufflers, that's the thing you put on the back of a car so that it doesn't sound so loud. Why did the man quit his job? Why did the man quit his job at the muffler shop? I'll tell you why. Because it was exhausting work. Exhausting. Get it? A muffler. It muffles the exhaust. It's exhausting work. Are you laughing as hard? Folks, lighten up. You need to go ahead and laugh at these because this might be the only chance you get today to laugh at anything. So go ahead and laugh. It's exhausting work. Here's Frank. I do remember Frank. Frank is fearful. Fearful Frank, we're going to call him. Oh dear, no, it can't be time. Yes, it is, Frank. It is time for us to go ahead and to make sure that we're ready for ourselves for the test. Here's the test, guys. Test number 25. Boy, we've got a bunch of them, haven't we? There you go. There they all right there are upon the screen right there. And so you got all your questions for the final test. I'm Sonny Childs. Who are you? Oh, yeah? Well, I want to say something to you. Be there. Matthew 16:26.